the beans like we used to do. Pass the beans. Pass the beans like we used to do. Pass the beans.
Pass the beans.
Pass the beans.
Pass the beans.
Pass the beans. The Beans Talk. All right, y'all. It is another episode of The Beans Talk.
Whoa, whoa.
That's right, y'all.
What's
Another
up, fam?
episode of The Beans Talk. Wow. It feels good to be here again.
It does.
It's so good. It's so good. But yeah, so let's jump right into it, y'all. Right. So we are four educators of color, bringing you raw, authentic conversation about society views and community engagement. Yeah, I am Fabs.
What's up, y'all? This is Steph.
Hey, Bean fam, it's Roro.
And this is TJ.
You forgot your name?
Had to think about it.
Yeah.
That's too funny.
Oh, man.
All right, y'all. So I'm going to go ahead and jump into Do Now for everybody. For the audience, for our listeners, for our viewers. So essentially, the Do Now is kind of like our icebreaker in the past. And so I'm going to ask a question to get a feel of, what everybody else might be thinking and things of that nature. And yeah.
Okay, so this is school?
This is school.
You know what I'm saying?
Class is in session, y'all.
All right. So here's my question for y'all. If you could write a note to your younger self, what would you say in only 2 words? So that takes some thinking. So I'm going to go ahead and give y'all another chance.
Dang.
At that. I'm going to let y'all know. Go ahead and drop your 2 words down in the comments if you can.
Wait, if we could write a note?
The question is, if you could write a note to your younger self, what would you say in only 2 words? I'm not even gonna lie, I gotta think about it, to be honest.
Wow.
But
I got mine too.
Okay. I'm ready.
All right.
All right.
TJ said he's ready.
I know, right?
Go for it.
I'll go first. Mine would be let go.
Ooh, that's really nice.
And the reason why I say that is because I feel like there's just been things in the past I've had a hard time. I've sort of dwelled on, perseverated on, and I think that when you get older, you see that that kind of it's not healthy to dwell on things that you should just kind of free yourself from. And that goes from problems you may have with other people, relationships. So yeah, that would be mine.
Let go?
Yeah.
I like that one.
I like it. Yeah. Still thinking.
Mine is save money.
Girl.
Save money.
That is a good one.
If I could go back to my younger self and just say, girl, save money. Man, y'all don't know how much money I've had come across me, and I've wasted it.
Still wasting. I know I am.
Still facts. I feel I touched a little bit on this in the first episode too, but I was just I'm starting to feel a little bit more comfortable with adulting. I'm learning about investments, learning about stocks, learning about a savings plan, and all of that stuff. And if I knew what I knew now, shoot, I would be balling.
I bet.
So much money wasted, but
I think that's an important thing to talk about, Steph, is that I feel like when I was younger, I learned a lot about saving, having a savings account. But the stocks thing, that's not something you learn, a lot of people learn about at a young age, how to invest in stocks and bonds and all that. And that's really important. I think it gets swept under the rug. I feel like it's not something, even culturally, that we instill in our youth at a young age. So
financial literacy is something big that's missing, I feel from our community.
It is.
But we on the come up. There's a lot of people peeping game, and we're starting to have more minority, low income communities talking about financial literacy. And so I'm excited about that shift, because you're right. When I was young, I didn't even learn about a savings account. I feel like my credit was messed up before I even knew what it really was. And so
girl,
I will definitely be instilling that into the next generation. We're all about breaking generational curses, y'all.
Yeah, I like that. I like that a lot.
Look, Rose, like,
how you feeling over there, bro?
And I'm still trying to bring
figure
it to 2 words.
I'll go ahead and say mine then. Mine would be bold.
Be bold.
I feel like a lot of who I am today is trying to be bold. And I think if I managed to do that before, then I wouldn't be going on this path of self-discovery. I feel like I probably would have already attained that, to be honest. And so I would definitely say to be bold, because there were so many opportunities that I didn't take advantage of and that I missed out on because of the fact that I failed to be bold. You know what I mean? I was just too scared. I allowed fear to just take hold and control what my movements would be in life for a very long time. So those would be my 2 words for sure.
So you would say bold is synonymous with brave?
Yeah, definitely.
I was thinking more like take risks.
Yeah, that's
all of that.
All
So
of
it
that.
encompasses all of it.
That makes sense.
Exactly.
That makes sense.
Yeah.
I think for me, I would probably say I'm still struggling to come up with 2 words, but something that just came in my head was take time. I feel like for me personally, I'm all about like, I had this conversation, I can't remember with who, but I try to like rush through a lot of things, period. I'm thinking about rushing through my processing with certain traumas, rushing through negative emotions, just like rushing through things. And I think what I would want, or what I would have want younger Ro to do was just to like, pause.
Yeah.
Like take your time. That's 3 words, but that's why I just reduced it to take time.
That works.
Just like Rowan, take time in process and take time in developing your passions. Take time in figuring out who the hell that you are. Like take that time.
That's beautiful.
Take time.
I love that.
I do, yeah.
Because I think that that's a big component of discovering who you are.
Yeah.
It's time to process. I think that especially in this new digital age where everything's so go and rush and just to slow down and really process your emotions and your thoughts. And I think that's the path to self-discovery. So
I agree. I agree. Great point,
lot.
TJ, for sure. I love that. So really quickly, let's go round circle. TJ, what were your 2 words?
let go.
Let go. I just jumped that on. I threw that on.
He forgot it.
Test.
He don't know
Quiz. Pop quiz.
He don't know what you're talking about.
So you said let go.
I said save money.
Be bold.
Take time.
So go ahead and take those 4 sets of 2 words.
So 8 words.
8 words total. I'm like 4 sets, 2 words, 8 words. Practicing my math out here, but it's been a while.
And those of you like listening, you guys should engage with us and let us know what the 2 words.
Give us your 2 words, please.
That you would say to your younger self, because we
Pass
have
it
a
along.
few choice words for our younger selves. All right, y'all. I am actually really excited that I am leading the debate. So I know we talked about it a little bit in our first episode that we went through this whole restructuring of the Beans Talk. And so our segments are a bit different. And so the debate is when we're bringing you a controversial topic that we feel is worth discussing.
I'm nervous.
I also want to highlight that we won't always leave calibrated or in agreement, but the love will remain still.
That's real.
Yes.
Nice.
And with this segment, each time that we bring you a segment, we're also going to just talk about the objective to give you an idea about what it is that we are going to cover in our topic. So today's objective is to talk about a post from the Shade Room.
Oh, God.
I know. I feel like
plenty of shade.
we've had plenty of conversations about things that the Shade Room has posted. But this post is related to children and sexuality. They reposted this post from Masika Kalisha.
Who's that?
I was just about to ask, does anybody really know who that is? No. I feel like she's done some acting. She's an actress. She's appeared on Love and Hip Hop.
Love and Hip Hop. Hollywood.
Love and Hip Hop Hollywood.
Hollywood.
I think that she also was with Fetty Wap at a time. They have a daughter together.
Oh, wow.
But that's all I really know about her outside.
It's all good.
Outside of this post. So let me actually pull it up right now. This post is in 2 parts. First, I'm going to actually read the visual of it, and I don't even know if we can see that. But we'll post it on our page as well. But I'm going to read the actual visual post, and then I'm going to read what Masika said underneath, because I think this is where the conversation gets in.
Okay.
So the post itself says, it's not about homosexuality or heterosexuality. Stop promoting sexuality to our children, period. Let kids be kids.
Okay.
Okay.
We good?
Yes.
You want me to read it again?
Yeah.
Read it again?
Yeah.
One last
Okay.
time.
So it says, it's not about homosexuality or heterosexuality. Stop promoting sexuality to our children, period. Let kids be kids.
Okay.
And then these were the words that Masika had said in addition to posting this. She said, this is for the fools that thinks it's progressive when Disney has a gay couple kissing next to Nemo. No, KB ain't watching Adam and Eve in sexual situations. The hell you think I'm supposed to let her watch Adam and Steve lip locking for? It's not progressive, it's suggestive. And I suggest you leave. This was a typo. So like you going off and you can't even spell right. Okay, so I suggest you let a child be a child. But I guess what she was trying to say, I suggest you like leave a child to be a child. It was jumbled up down there. This is why we do this, kids. Education.
I know, right?
Can you read her comments for me one more
it's
time?
Convoluted.
It is a little convoluted. Okay, I'm going to read it again. Lock in.
Okay.
Lock in.
And loaded.
Okay, here we go. This is for the fools that thinks it's progressive when Disney has a gay couple kissing next to Nemo. No, KB ain't watching Adam and Eve in sexual situations. The hell you think I'm supposed to let her watch Adam and Steve lip locking for? It's not progressive, it's suggestive, and I suggest you let a child be a child. And so what I think that she's talking about is that when we're thinking about Disney, I don't know what movie is most recently has come out, but Disney, I would say, is being more progressive in like showcasing more homosexual or
For real?
different types of relationships.
Okay.
Disney is trying to diversify representation inside of
And KB
inside of movies.
is her daughter.
I'm
or
assuming.
her child?
Yes,
Okay.
I think
It's her
KB
child,
is
yeah.
her child, is the daughter. And so yeah, when I saw this, first of all, I was like, this is sitting with me a little bit. And then I kept seeing a lot of people that I'm friends with or I associate with reposting this in agreement with it. There were some people who also, because I reposted and I was like, I got to bring this to the Beanstalk. And there were also some people that reached out and like shared their ideas and shared their comments. But I wanted to put that one on the table and hear what you guys, how are you processing it? Because I very much am like,
Yeah, this was a interesting post for sure. And I think it brought a lot more complexity than just being able to make the comment that she had made. What'd you say her name was again? Sorry.
Masika.
Masika had
got
made. And so it's kind of like, there's a lot that goes into this. Granted, I don't have any children, but I am okay with understanding and learning how the future is going to be. So when we do have children, that it's, I don't know, it's progressive. You know what I mean? And I do want it to be progressive. With the post itself, I'm not against the post. With Masika's comment, I think she has some underlying feelings regarding sexuality, and it came out inside of her post.
Yeah.
And I think she's also trying not to show those feelings about her homophobia. And there's some underlying homophobia that's interweaved inside of that comment, I think.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And I think that she's not including that. And I think when this post went up, there were conversations that I was included in. And this also means that it was with people with kids. And so I think these are going to be people with different perspectives than what I'm going to have because of the fact that I don't have children right now. But at the same time, it becomes very difficult when you have so many Disney movies currently with some relationships between heterosexual relationships. And I think what Disney movies today, those are past Disney movies, and Disney movies today, they are starting to be more inclusive with what's and represent what's actually going on in society and normalizing that so that it's not confusing, when they see it as they get older.
It's interesting. I disagree. I don't think that Masika post was homophobic. It felt like two very different points. Like the point that she was saying in the actual post and the comment she left below it were two very different things to me. Like in the post, it sounds like she's saying, okay, like people should raise their kids not confined to boxes or labels, that you should raise your kids freely so that they are free to kind of find themselves and discover their own sexuality. That's what the post said.
No, that's not what the post said. Wait,
read it again.
Let's point out a couple of things that
It said, the post said, it's not about homosexuality or heterosexuality. Stop promoting sexuality to our children, period. Let kids be kids. So this is all about.
That's what the meme is.
Yes.
Okay,
That's what
it's not about let kids.
Masika, what she pointed out was she's not going to, just like she's not allowing Adam and Eve, or I guess representations of Adam and Eve being in front of her kids on television, she's not going to do the same thing with Adam and Steve. But what she's not actually including or not realizing is that Adam and Eve is so normalized that you don't even recognize that it's actually already happening in front of you inside of Disney movies, with Cinderella when she goes to see the prince, it's just
all
like
of them.
I don't agree that her post is innately.
Go ahead.
Okay, like I don't agree that what she's saying is homophobic. She's saying that, like, okay, if I had a kid, right, I wouldn't want them at a young age seeing sex on TV. Like I wouldn't, regardless if they're straight or gay. That is not. It's not homophobic to me. She's saying that stop throwing these things in front of children because it's influencing them. Let them. I feel like she's innately saying let kids discover who they are without shoving it in their faces.
That I agree with.
But the point she made at the bottom of the post, to me, was a little bit different. I feel like the post had a different connotation than what she said below.
Exactly.
But I don't detect any homophobia.
She becomes hyper focused on the homosexuality. That's what's trick. If she says that it's a fool, like you're a fool
to think the way that post is.
Mm-hmm. Do you get what I'm saying? Can you read the beginning of that post?
She's going against the post she posted.
She's saying that this post is essentially for fools.
Yeah, that's what she's saying.
She said, this is for the fools that thinks it's progressive when Disney has a gay couple kissing next to Nemo.
And that's why I'm saying she's starting to hyper focus on to homosexuality, and whether or not she has a great problem. I think it's just, I don't know. I feel like her statement is rooted in homophobia, even if she's not necessarily homophobic. And I'll talk about that a little bit more.
Here's my thing with Masika's post, okay? Bon Dieu pardonne, but like Shorty just seems égarée to me. Here's why I say that.
Égarée definition.
Yeah, I feel like she's not really making much sense. Here's why. You don't want images of Adam and Eve thrown in your children's face and KB's face, but if you think about it, everything that we see is pro-hetero. Everything, tout bagay. And it's like, I just don't understand, like, what is... So what, Adam and Steve, man? And like, it's not like Disney is going to the far extreme. Like even with the live action example that you brought up, Steph, with Beauty and the Beast. Like I remember Gaston's like homeboy had a crush on him, but it wasn't in your face gay. Like I don't feel like Disney is really putting anything straight up in your face. I'm trying to think about this kissing in Nemo she's talking about.
I don't remember.
What is she talking about? I feel like...
I think she's just making the example, like, as Disney is getting more progressive and moving towards showing a variety of different types of relationships, like having two men or two women kissing as cartoons next to, like, Nemo, the fish in the sea, is not something that she would be comfortable with. But my piece is I get all of that, but if you are going to talk about something like this, you need to encompass it around all sexuality, because we've had Disney princesses and Disney movies showing romance from the beginning of time. we see like these characters kissing, becoming intimate, not like crazy.
Sex, yeah.
Not like sex, but they're like together. They're kissing each other. And so...
Can you read her posts again?
I think it's all confusing.
The post
Oh,
below,
my
because
Her comment.
Yeah, her comment, because I thought it was in support of her post, like saying, "Hey," I couldn't tell if she was supporting it or against. It sounded like she was supporting the post and
She didn't
using.
post that.
To a degree, Terrence. To a degree, she is.
You want me to read it again?
Yeah,
Though?
please.
Okay. I'm sorry, y'all. Y'all have heard this post like 6 times, but this is what it takes when you're in a debate. Like, unpacking it. This is for the fools that thinks it's progressive when Disney has a gay couple kissing next to Nemo. No, KB ain't watching Adam and Eve in sexual situations. The hell you think I'm supposed to let her watch Adam and Steve lip locking for?
So she does address the hetero side. She says she's not going to let her daughter watch Adam and Eve kiss. So why? So that's why.
But Adam and Eve is kissing unless she's not allowing her daughter to watch any Disney movies
whatsoever.
Adam and Eve has been kissing in all Disney movies.
I can understand if she is like, you know what, KB's only watching Finding Nemo. I'm trying to think if Finding Nemo has anything. I'm sure there's some insinuating. I'm sure they have some.
Ariel and Eric definitely kiss at
exactly.
the end of Little
That's what I'm
Mermaid.
saying. So unless she's just doing like Finding Nemo, even Cars has like sexual aspects to it. Like, why are we talking about the female or the feminine cars headlights?
Yeah.
Like, why are we saying that? Or what's in her trunk? Like, why are we we're sexualizing consistently and all of the time in Disney movies? And so what she's pointing out is starting to hyper-focus onto homosexuality. And the only reason why she would hyper-focus onto homosexuality, whether or not she's okay with it, honestly, I don't know of anything about her, but whether or not she's okay with it, it's rooted in homophobia. Even if she's going to say, yes, I am homophobic. It's much like...
It's interesting.
Like this conversation is coming up now when Disney might be talking about having 2 same-sex Disney characters kissing. Now it's like, oh, Lord, we can't have like kids exposed to sexuality.
Yeah.
But everything... it has sexuality embedded in it. It has been up until this point. So
it's interesting because it reminds me of at the school I teach at. There was an incident where a female student she's gay, and she was at a basketball game kissing her girlfriend. And it caused a stir. Like parents who were there supporting their kids' play were like really upset that was in public display. And the conversation came up about like, would those parents have had that same reaction if it had been a straight couple?
They wouldn't
kissing?
have.
Of course not.
And that's the issue though.
Yeah.
What?
And I agree now. I mean, her post it sounded like she tried to make it seem like, oh, she has a problem with heterosexuality being shown in Disney films, but you're right, it doesn't make sense because Disney films innately show kissing between straight people. So yeah, her post didn't make any sense.
Yeah, I didn't think I'm with you. I don't think it made sense.
Yeah.
Like I think she was trying for something. And sorry, shorty, it didn't make sense to me, which is why I'm going to go back and say, like, the whole thing is just mad ignorant to me, dog. Like, imbecilité. I don't get what she was trying to get at, shorty. You tried. It was cute.
But I just want to point out the importance of representation, just on a larger scale. And I'm not just saying, like, homosexuality and stuff like that, but there are more people of color coming into movies. There are more that includes Asian people. I feel like a lot of people aren't even paying attention to the fact that how many Asian people are you actually seeing inside of movies? You know what I mean? Except for like Crazy Rich Asians, where I think it was an amazing movie. Don't get me wrong, but like let's just point out how important representation actually is. You know what I mean?
People who are disabled.
People who are disabled. Like, you know what I mean? There's so many people that we do not include inside of media, and that becomes a huge problem because it translates to who we can potentially be as individuals and what what people look like on TV is how that's actually going to end up being represented inside of the community. You know what I mean? If you only see black men, shooting and selling drugs, there are going to be more and more young black boys aspiring, unfortunately, to be rich men through, selling drugs and killing people or joining gangs. Like that doesn't necessarily have to be the norm. There are many paths that can be taken, and I think it's extremely important for that level of representation, including sexuality. And by her pointing this out, that means she's resistant to inclusivity.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
I think it's interesting too, because I feel like a lot of people share her sentiment.
There were
low-key.
a lot.
And I think that doesn't necessarily mean you're homophobic. Like, I know people who aren't homophobic, but
It's
they have
not it's rooted in homophobia.
Right. But they have a kid, right? And they don't necessarily want their kid watching things that are homosexual or sexually driven because they think it's going to influence them, but they don't have a problem with gay people. But yeah, it's like rooted in like this, like, oh, I don't want my kid to be this, so I'm going to censor what they see.
Yeah.
One of the things that's made me really think about is I understand both perspectives on each side of this post, but I think that it really boils down for people to just like stop and be reflective, because I don't think that Masika, I'm assuming the best, and I don't think Masika posted this up and thinking like, oh, I'm against gay people and was trying to be like homophobic or offend anybody necessarily, but was just trying to make a point for what she was passionate about. That's the way I assume with anybody who's speaking. Like they are speaking from their truth and their perspective, which is fine. What I want to actually push people to do is actually be reflective about your implicit biases and understand that your upbringing, the culture that you were brought up in, and the way in which that you've operated your whole entire life could be excluding a group of people and could actually be rooted in racism, prejudice, homophobia, and the list goes on.
Yes.
Like, and this is very rooted inside of my work, as I'm trying to get kids to think about not kids, but get teachers to think about how to serve their students on more culturally responsive practice. Like, I'm not saying these two things are the same at all. So I don't want anybody being up in the comments like race and sexuality aren't the same thing. I'm not trying to say that, but I'm just trying to give an example of how I think the brain operates in the same way across like both spectrums. Like, we could easily say that, I don't know, a white woman who is like teaching inside of her classroom makes some sort of comment like, I just don't understand why all the low kids aren't getting this content. And it just so happens that the low kids are the students of color. Like, she's not registering that is rooted inside of prejudice and racism and her own implicit bias. And so she thinks that comment is okay until somebody like stops and says, your comment brings me pause and it made me feel this way. And then it's like, oh, I never had that perspective. And so I think this is really important for people to just stop and like kind of get out of your own ego and recognize that all of us have implicit bias.
Yes.
All of us. We all have implicit bias, and we all do and say and operate from ways in which that we were born and we were brought up that might not be inclusive for all people. So if you are able to like recognize that and like take a pause and understand that your brain has like 40,000 different connections happening at all the time, and our brains are lazy and we're going to go with what's comfortable for us and what we've always known and been around, then it'll make it a little bit easier for you to like stop and say, my post, the intent was not for it to have this, but the impact was different. Like acknowledge intent, but own impact.
Yes.
And I think that this is a moment for that.
Definitely.
I don't think she paused and thought like that's why
Well, she could have after she read the comments, because a lot of people had chimed in agreement and disagreement, but
She probably didn't even think that she was doing anything wrong. You know what I mean? And that's because we don't recognize how much we actually have to unlearn.
Yeah.
There's and everybody, even people within the homosexual community, actually have a lot of unlearning to do.
Yeah,
You know what I mean? It's like, it doesn't matter what community you're a part of. It's like, you really need to take a step back and think about how you're going to affect other people that are, in terms of what you're saying, what you're posting, how it's going to affect another group or community. You know what I mean? Because there's so many overlapping layers when it comes to this. It's not just about like, no, I don't want my kids to see anything about any kind of sexuality or anything like that. But man, I just saw something on Teletubbies. We don't know what they are. We don't know if they're man, woman. We don't know.
That show's still on?
I know, right?
I don't know.
I thought it was
with the baby in the sun.
It was a meme. It was a meme. I'm not actually like turning it on or
You watch it.
I did. I'm not gonna lie. But not as an adult. But the one of the Teletubbies just blew something and it like unrolled into something that was like a very long tongue, and the other Teletubby is like bent over trying to pick a flower or something, and this thing is like licking the derriere.
No.
It's like I don't want my kids to see that either.
Ricky Dicky.
You know what I mean? Like,
If that's the case.
you know what I'm saying? I don't want that to even like you're programming their mind low key.
But baby, if that's the case, then you
Sex
can't
sells,
let
y'all.
your child watch anything.
Anything like read a damn book. You know what I mean?
Even
Like
books?
we're gonna be reading books
Oh, speaking-
about
yeah.
grass
I feel like
blades
books are
and cucumbers. Probably not even cucumbers up in here because honestly, I feel like anything.
Not the cucumber
Right.
challenge.
You know what I'm saying?
No,
it's
but
like,
books are also around that same way.
Yeah.
Like I was just saying, like one of my coworkers, her son is an avid reader. I believe he's like 8 right now, and he was reading this graphic novel, and I think it's like a memoir
Yeah.
of the main character, and it's like a series. And so I guess the second book is about this character. She's going through puberty, and he like straight up walked up to his mom and was like, Mom, what's a period? And it's like, so I mean,
And
like books, like young adult books are also,
Yeah.
They are.
has this information.
But that's the thing. You know, it's really hard not to. I feel like it's inevitable.
Yeah.
Every single last thing that we do is literally surrounded and rooted from sex. Period, point
Period.
blank. So it's going to be really difficult to like exclude sexuality when it comes to creativity and innovation.
And I definitely want to
Yeah.
just bring out a point that Steph said about representation and how that's really important. And as an educator,
I
I'm an
think
English teacher.
Fab said that.
Oh,
I wasn't going to say that.
oh,
But
sorry,
you
Fabs.
tried.
I
It's
thought it was
okay.
Steph.
It's okay.
Representation, especially as an English teacher, like I'm really, I think, I'm very pointed about like what books kids are seeing in front of them, and like having books that are diverse. I feel like there's, especially this day and age, a lot of books with like Black characters and characters that are, not the majority. I think that's really important for kids to see, and I agree with you too, Fabs, about how it's hard to shelter kids from sex.
Yeah.
They
It's hard.
tried
It really
this. Didn't we have this big, this is maybe your area, Terrence, because you're into history, but there was a whole era where there was this fight over censorship when they were like censored
Oh
everything.
yeah, it's happened it happens in
But
other countries.
It creates so much
Yeah.
suppression, and it causes more problems than not.
It comes out in
Yeah.
deviant ways too.
Yeah,
When you
it
try to
does.
suppress sex, people do some like underhanded.
Because
Yeah.
it's so much a part of human nature. Do you know what I mean?
no other way
It's
to put it.
really difficult not to include sex. So all in all, to say, I think Disney is actually on the right path in terms of being more inclusive.
And Masika's not.
Yeah, because I want to point out the fact that there's like a lot of suicide surrounding, youth and in the LGBTQ plus community, where it's like if they don't see themselves on there, and other people aren't seeing people like them on media. When I say on there, I mean like TV and movies and stuff like that. They're more susceptible to bullying and being outcasted because in society, in the media, you're already by default outcasted.
Yeah.
But
And
by
it's not normalized.
exactly, and since it's not normalized and they're not included inside of media and making it normal, just outright and just flat and making that a standard for everyone, I feel like it would reduce suicide. Just same-sex marriage by itself significantly, I think it was like over 100,000 suicides. It was like over 100,000 suicides down from the previous year once same-sex marriage became legalized.
Wow. I didn't know that.
Yeah, in
I
like
didn't know that
2015 or
either.
something like that. It's
Wow.
I could look up the statistic, but I'm not going to do that right now. But that's just the impact, where it's like, if you become more inclusive, you really are allowing other people to truly just be themselves. You know what I mean? And just
see themselves in
and
other
see
characters.
themselves. Exactly. And see that this is okay, because so many people are fighting it in the dark by themselves. And that is so, I can't even imagine how difficult that is. It's extremely, extremely hard. And then some people are just fighting it. They're fighting themselves with their own.
Yeah.
Listen,
It's a lot
your
deeper.
mind is a dangerous place. And if you're with your own thoughts and your own mind all of the time and too afraid to even have a conversation with somebody else about it, that's difficult. That's hard. So I think I think Disney's on the right path here, to be honest.
Yeah, I agree.
Is it mirrors?
Yes, mirrors, windows, and doors. It is a theory, and I think it's a book. I will look it up and get the author or the person who did this research. But it's pretty much saying, like, people need to, like, see themselves reflected. It pretty much, I think, reinforces what Fabs was saying.
Word.
Like, people need to see themselves reflected. They need to see themselves. They need to be able to see other perspectives, and they need to see what doors can be open for people that are like them.
But I think that's going to be hard if you have parents who are, in essence, just censoring the shit that their children see. Like, what if, I'm not saying this is what's going to happen with her child, but like if Masika is wanting to keep everything Disney and homo away from KB, like, why not just expose KB to that so that KB can see, like, yo, I have the option to choose which route that I want. But I feel like, I don't know, man. I just, something about her comment to that post, it's not cohesive to me. It's like, thank you for chiming in, shorty, but if that's the case, you need to censor everything for your child.
It's hard for me to even think about what goes through people's minds when they are, like, posting something like this. And again, I'm not a parent. I don't know what she may be trying to get at here.
You're right.
But at the end of the day, what I can aspire to as a parent, what I always appreciate these examples, because I'm not a parent yet. I can aspire and think about the ways in which, again, breaking generational curses. Okay. I can think about the ways in which I want to educate my kids. Like, censorship doesn't necessarily mean that they won't do it. That's why you get where that phrase came from, talking about the preacher's daughter, right? Like, grew up in church, tight knit on everything they do, and then they go off to college and like wild out. Like, just because you're censored doesn't mean that you are fully educated around how to make the right decisions for yourself and how to learn the lessons that we hope to instill inside of our kids, whatever that may be. So I think conversation, like the lack of communication inside the Black community, is so crazy to me because not having that communication, that open line of communication, and having those really difficult conversations, it seems like people are more comfortable with silence and like, this feels uncomfortable, I kind of want to stray away from that. Just don't do it because
I said so.
Exactly. Or this idea, and this could definitely be another longer topic or debate that we talk about, how Black parents find it disrespectful when you disagree with them. May not be all Black parents, but I know that was definitely true for me. So just the lack of communication in our community is something that I definitely want to highlight, and something I want to change when I'm talking about my own kids. It's like, I want you to see things, but I want to talk to you about what that means to me and your options for how to process that for you.
Yeah, that's beautiful. I like that a lot.
Yeah, it's a long road ahead for change, but I think that progress has been made. Like, I think of the show American Horror Story, and how there was a young lady that had Down syndrome. She was like that's like those are the type of things that are putting people in the forefront, and I think that there's still a long road ahead. But I
don't think that's
progress.
the best example, given it was inside of American Horror Story, though.
It's the best example for parents.
It was on television, and it was a main show. I mean, you don't see that very often.
Representation.
Representation. So
Like
Yeah.
what was that other show? Was it Glee Club or something like that?
Glee.
The Glee.
Yeah, it was just called
and
Glee.
then they had like people in wheelchairs.
Oh,
they
wow.
had people that were
same-sex,
homosexual
yeah.
people.
Wow.
Heterosexual, black, white, all kinds of people on
I'm
there.
Bunchy show. I
It was
never watched
it made sense. You know what I mean? It made sense.
Y'all remember the Cinderella adaptation where it was Brandy and
Yeah.
her
Representation.
Oh, yeah.
Again, representation.
And that was like one of the best versions.
It was.
I
It
know,
was one of the
I
best
love that
versions.
version.
It really
Yeah,
was.
but representation. man.
Yeah,
but
the prince was Asian and
Yeah.
everyone was all like different colors.
Yeah. I didn't
Makes
question
sense,
it, to
but-
be honest. I didn't question it though.
Yeah,
I
it
actually
didn't,
liked
yeah.
it.
And
so
that's
much.
another thing. Yo.
Kids don't worry about that.
I'm so happy you just said that, Fabs. Who's to say that KB is even going to question when he or
not.
she? It's a girl?
Daughter.
Okay,
It's her
sorry.
daughter.
Who's to say that KB is even going to question if she were to see two fish
Exactly.
kissing?
Exactly.
Look how we didn't even question the fact that the prince's parents were
didn't.
not Asian.
I didn't. Not until I was an adult.
Okay, I don't think students or the young people even read into shit like
Exactly.
we do.
The more normalized it becomes, the less of a big deal it is. And I think
Word.
that older folk and from us and up and beyond, they are really scared of things that have not been normalized to be normalized again
Yeah.
because it has implications on moving things forward. So
Definitely.
thank you guys for engaging me. And again, this conversation is still open.
Right.
Like I said, we won't always leave in agreement, but the love still remains. So if you all have comments or additional thoughts that you want to add based on what we said, drop them in that comment box.
Drop it.
Please. So I'm gonna go ahead and take over on the word of the day. Again, this is like a segment where I will provide either a word, literally, or a phrase, and it's essentially a lesson to kind of take you home with. It could be anything. It could be funny, serious, or anything like that. But I think
excited.
the word that I have today, which is actually really connected to the conversation, is unlearn. And the definition I have for unlearn here is discard something learned, especially a bad habit or false or outdated. I just wanted to point that out, outdated. Okay, so discard something learned, especially a bad habit or false or outdated information from one's memory. I think in the conversation that we're having right now, it's like whether or not, what's her name again? Sorry.
Masika.
whether or not Masika was actually trying to say something that was definitely homophobic or anything like that. There are statements that she's making that's very generalized that can impact the homophobic community and homosexual community. Sorry about that.
My eyes got big. I was like, what?
I was like, y'all, that's not what we want to say.
I was like, wait.
That can impact the homosexual community. And, it's important to make sure you recognize what you're about to say before you actually say it. So unlearn. Take a moment to unlearn, reflect before moving forward or anything like that.
I think the term homosexual is becoming outdated too.
Right.
Like, I think we just should be saying LGBTQ. Like,
Or we should just be saying people.
Right.
people. Exactly.
Hopefully one day.
Amen.
No other way to put it.
People.
I prefer queer,
Beings.
but
Okay.
Actually, I'm not opposed to that either.
no,
to
I
be
hate
honest.
that word. I told you I hated it during our past. Like the word queer just doesn't. It sounds so creepy. Queer. Like
Okay.
it doesn't have a nice ring to
People, man. Just beings.
People.
For real.
Unlearn.
Unlearn, y'all.
Unlearn.
I need to unlearn. You know what I mean? I need to unlearn those words. But yeah, homework.
it. Yeah.
Homework. Guys, we are officially up on everything. I love the excitement. We're on YouTube now.
Kid. Kisanka.
We're on YouTube. We're on Spotify. We're on Apple. We're on SoundCloud.
Wait,
SoundCloud.
food.
We're on iHeartRadio.
We're on iHeartRadio. We're on everything. If you go to the Beans Talk podcast on Instagram or Facebook, you can click the link in our bio and it will take you to all the platforms that you can access us on. Please like, follow, comment, and show love. We appreciate it and
We always do.
love you guys so much.
Join the conversation.
Please do.
You can also follow me on Instagram at _Steffi's World.
And you You can find me on Instagram and Twitter, actually, at Earth2 Fabs.
Always find me on IG. Always. I'm always on there liking stuff. I don't post, but _Augustin.
Yep, and you can find me on IG at redroom4783.
All right, y'all.
Follow
That's
TJ.
a wrap.
It is a wrap. Bye, fam.
Another episode of the Beans Talk.
We on everything now.
Deuces.
Hey!